Hi everyone, this is Nichel Anderson. This is my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to do my prayer. Thank you so much for joining me today. And my prayer for today, this episode offer clarity, mental peace with the mission and purpose of God, that I give all the praise and glory to Him for blessing my show to keep it moving and motivating others on their journey. Okay. So, and on my journey as well. Ha! Good it is, y'all. All right, we're going to go ahead and talk about what the episode today is going to be. This is episode 140, and I wanted to talk about why does emotional abuse festers at work. All right, and this would be actually episode 141. So let me get that. Make sure I say that on that part for my season 9. And usually I separate the first segment. I focus on my quick points, then I do my wisdom. I'm gonna have this like more like an open dialogue, but with some good takeaways for you. Okay, so I'm just gonna get into it. Well, let me back up. Why did I want to kind of talk about this? I feel like emotional abuse happens not only in our personal life but also at the workplace. We can use the term bullies that we'll say here in the United States or what have you. But basically, emotional abuse, which I survived as a child growing up, you don't really see the wounds, but you can either be affected, of course, affected by the wounds, but not understanding what's normal, what's imbalanced. So I felt that, particularly when I left college and I started the business life, what have you, working at different companies, and mostly it was large companies, that emotional abuse can be even more hidden, that you don't know that it's happening, but yet things are occurring that is kind of let you know that you have to kind of take a step back. And it definitely can be number one with stress, but I don't want to go too much into that. I just want to kind of set it up, why I wanted to talk about this, why I think it could be a way for the listeners that's listening, a way to kind of identify it and then approach it in a way that can give you the mental peace. So my show is all about why you're on the journey. We're dealing with different things, and here and there is to always aim to acknowledge your worth, acknowledge what's normal and what's not, and to have the courage to do something about it and get the mental peace. Because to me, that's the goal. So we're going to go ahead and start of that. It's not going to be a long podcast, but I do want to kind of make sure that it has a lot of meat on the bones you could take away from it. Okay, so let's get into it. So why does emotional abuse festers at work? I think because we're too doggone busy, because we're doing our jobs, that we don't realize that the person that we're working with, or maybe it's just the energy. And that's the number one answer that I would say. It's because the energy has set up to accept that it's normal. Like I said before, it's almost like dealing with a bully. They're trying to let you be afraid to say anything else, to accept the activity or what's the behavior as is normal, and it's not. So it festers, it grows into different ways. It can grow into you having a certain behaviors that you can't stop. That could be, I don't know, any type of negative behavior that's not in balance. Let's put it that way. So when we're at work and we're dealing with all these different personalities, we're dealing with our coworkers, our bosses, our subordinates, customers, it feeds into that bowl. When it needs to be clean, it needs to be identified what it is and sorted, and boundaries. It's hard to have boundaries at work, so it festers. And that's where I say the number one reason is the energy. And it can be restrictive. Everything is energy, and it can produce in a way that you don't see, in a way that makes you feel that it's no way out. So then other activity happens, either bad choices or just health. With the energy not where it needs to be, it could produce stress um, all through the body. So that's a whole different area, but it is related. So that's the number one reason I would say is why. So when we take energy, and I say energy is everything, and you put that in the people that you work with or the customers that you deal with, and people might say, it's something about his energy just off. Or something about, when I'm around so and so, her energy is just kind of like, or she making me feel a certain way. That's where you have to use I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I'm doing a different flow. My show today is that you have to find ways to raise your vibration. You have to find ways to bring you back to the central core of who you are. Because to have a journey, you have to know your identity, you have to know your worth. So emotional abuse takes that away because it's like some people connect with that brings them joy, like a momentum or something. It could be a pet, it could be, some heirloom, it could be anything that brings them peace and makes them feel good and whole. Emotional abuse takes that away and position the words to say not only that it's normal, so basically to accept it when you actually need what they're refusing to give. That could be a thank you, that can be not being polite when you have to ask, can you help on this project? That can be anything where the person wants to hurt your feelings to the point that it takes away your worth. So it's draining your energy. So how can you pivot from that and get a hold of it that you're more in control? First, you have to understand and accept that it is emotional abuse at the workplace. You have to talk about it, which can be tricky, but you have to talk about it in a way you can keep it short. I like to tell people just keep things short when you in those type of situations, that talking long ain't gonna go nowhere, or it just can get heated if the other person's not willing to accept it. So emotional abuse, when it comes up, and that can be very, you'll know that it is because it makes you either want to cry or get angry, or you just don't feel good being around that group or in that area, in that office. So you focus on getting what needs to be done and you keep it short. You move forward. And by doing that, you flip the energy in your favor. I have done it so many times and you feel so liberated. And it comes from understanding not only just your worth, but you don't want to continue like that. Some workplaces are so toxic that you just can't change it. It's all ingrained. They just got to go and deal whatever's coming for them, right? So you have to choose to either stay or go. Hopefully, it don't have to be to that extreme, but nonetheless, understanding how you feel relates to either the personal group or that area. It can be just bad energy in a space. And that's where you have to kind of acknowledge that. And another way to acknowledge it is like emotional abuse if you're emotional in a sense that you don't know why you should be happy. So that's definitely energy clearing that you have to do. And that could just be a particular song that lifts up your spirits you can play around. That could be reading your affirmations. That could be, doing journaling, right? Great. That could be on your notepad on your iPhone and you're just writing down notes of what you're grateful and you're happy about and you focus on that. That usually helps. Some toxic places can be so toxic that you're going to need something more, and that could be just prayer time in the morning, okay? And that helps to prevent that. So it festers when that none of those things that I went off are able to be done or can't be done. It festers if the environment is too toxic and no one's there to listen to make the changes that's in leadership, or they take too long to do it. It can fester when it's touching on something that you didn't receive in the past and it's old wounds. So when that happens, it can fester in the workplace because it keeps nipping at it, and you just like, you kind of like some people like. Well, I would say some people, it's our mechanism. If any trauma that happens, our body would go into a deep dive that it would keep it away until we're ready to understand it. So in the workplace, if you think about it, you spend pretty much half a day at the workplace with other people doing all types of things. They can say this and say that, and that can create the emotional abuse. And you would define what makes you bring you out of that. Like I mentioned, you always want to focus on raising that vibration. Music can do it, walking can do it, exercising can do it. Learning the person or the group of how they operate, and then positioning yourself that you can move above it always help. So it festers when we're not able to see it. Some people can't see it to know this is not normal, it's not right, that person should not have done that, or this should not have happened, or is this negative energy? It really needs to be cleaned out. Don't realize that that's the cause that they're so stressed or this or that, how they feel. And it could be limiting, right? So that's on that part. I hope you got all of that. I wanted to kind of talk about it because I have been there where it is emotional. It is not only stressful, but it can be abuse when the person or group or what have you do things that are hurtful to someone else that's supposed to be a part of the team, right? And by not doing anything, it festers, it grows. And it can be very dramatic to the person that's on the other end of that. All right. They always saying like be nice. But usually with abuse, sometimes it's not really seen or it's done in a way that it's normal that people won't say anything and you should. Okay, so we covered that part. I did went over like strategies that you can use, what you can do. Of course, the number one goal is just focus on raising back your vibration. That could be saying thank to yourself for keep going and returning. Okay, that could be as simple as that, or listening to something that will give you encouragement of your worth. So if I had to give my wisdom point now, the top three things to overcome that when it festers, or maybe it's not you, maybe it's somebody that you know and you're like, that is really wrong what they do to her. She probably emotionally distraught, yada, yada, yada. Number one is having the mental clarity. Mental clarity could be prayer, meditation, reading a page that uplifts you. And clarity helps you understand to decide how you're going to deal with. To go into number two point of my wisdom is creating boundaries. Boundaries is so important, but it's hard at work. So you work with those that cause the emotional abuse or distress when you need to. If you can avoid it, do it. If you can't, it is what it is, but you make the best of it and you always have an end game. I'm always, if this person say this or that, I'm going to always go to option B or C, which is basically, I really don't have that much time. I just need you to sign this or we review this and I have to go. Whatever. You're just trying to keep it moving like the when you go to the grocery store and they put it on the belt. They have a button that makes it go faster to bring the food to them. That's what you're trying to do, okay? Keep it moving, all right? And number three is just know your worth. Know your worth, love you, understand who you are. And it doesn't matter. Like sometimes the person that's doing the abuse will say, well, you're just sensitive. Well, that's who I am. Deal with it. They'll never leave you alone, but nonetheless, you have to be more forceful on that. But when you look at it that way, you claim your worth and you claim your mental peace. All right, and my motivational takeaway I want to say, let's see, be you. And that's a wrap. All right, y'all, I appreciate you. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Happy holidays going into the next year of 2026. Thank you.